Hi everyone, sorry I had to quit the other the other video so quickly, but I only get 15 minutes time. This one will be fairly quick. I just wanted to point out a couple of things in here. Um, on page 4 of the story, when Dee actually shows up, um, we can see she shows up with a man and who says to them, "Assalamu alaikum," and the mother and Maggie may not understand what's going on. Um, and we might be confused about this as well. But what's happened is that Maggie has, converted to Islam. Her the man that she's with is going to be Muslim, and this was something that African Americans did. Somewhat frequently. It was definitely a thing that happened with African Americans in the 60s and 70s, which is when this story is supposed to be taking place. Um, and so she's going to, as somebody who has converted, she has changed her name. And so there's this whole thing in here about Dee's name. She becomes Wangaru, right? Um, because she has adopted an African name, and the whole idea behind this conversion to Islam and adopting these African names comes from the idea that since African Americans were slaves, they were brought to the United States, given new names, excuse me, given a new religion of Christianity, and so some African Americans had this idea that, well, that's Christianity isn't our real religion; these aren't our real names, so we need to have names that are more closely associated with where we come from. And since Islam definitely has a foothold in places in Africa that people converted to Islam, and then again adopted names that that they saw as being African, and so that's a lot of what Dee is going to be doing here. She is going to be saying that this is not. I mean, they're going to have a conversation about this later. I could not, didn't want to be named after the people that oppressed me, kind of a thing. And so she's saying that's why I chose this other name. The mother doesn't really understand what she's talking about. The mother is going to, say you were actually named after, people in the family. Those weren't people that oppressed you. And so you can see that they're not quite, able to communicate about this idea here. So I just want you to keep that in mind about what's going on. That's why later on, the man that she's with won't eat pork because he's converted to Islam. Dee doesn't have a problem doing that. She tears into the collard greens even though they have pork in them. And it does explain something about them, right? Dee is somebody who might think of herself as having these very progressive, forward-thinking ideas about African Americans, and her mother doesn't understand them. So just keep that in mind because that becomes an important component of some of the things going on here. So I just wanted to make that comment, and then now you're ready to go ahead and read the story.